stream should be going. I know it's early, earlier even than my usual, but I actually have something specific I can talk about, so I'm okay with being a little sooner with it. And hang on, mute. All right, and it looks like it is also visible there. Cool. And what's also nice by doing this is it allows me to experiment a little bit more with Vumble Studio here. So, what is the thing? Well, yeah, I'll quickly explain what the experiment is. It occurred to me that I could, in theory, do the cover impression video. It wouldn't work too well, actually, but in theory, I could do that with on a live stream in Rumble Studio, because you can do picture-in-picture. So, set something up. I'm just abusing that. That's why different background image there. But this is what I want to talk about. It's the launch of NASA's Roman Space Telescope. I actually don't exactly care for the fact that they're shortening it that way, but I can understand. The reason why I want to talk about this specifically is, as weird as it makes it, okay, let me go back to the main view, is because of this. My book, A Letter from Catherine. So, I have no problem acknowledging I am lousy at coming up with names. Sometimes I'm better, sometimes I'm worse. In any case, yeah, I do realize that that's, like, really... Well, this... Okay, that may work better. Just the way it was crunching down and still trying to have the name there. Anyway. So, I'm thinking about... Like, I know I'm going to start writing it soon. Like, next few weeks. And it's like, I still need a name for the main character. What do I do? It's like, yeah, so that's on my mind. And then it occurs to me, you know what? I have not seen any news about W First in so long. Let me look that up. Let me see what's up with that. W First, Wide Field Infrared Space Telescope. This thing is kind of nuts. Because you think about the beautiful images that we get from Hubble. The original plan for it, that changed. What we're getting. Hubble can get a fraction of the size of the full moon. This thing in one image can take more than the area of the full moon. It's 1 1/3. Okay, it's about 100 times. One image of it covers 100 times larger area than Hubble does. Okay, it's awesome. And it's like, hey, yeah, this is really cool. It is infrared, but it actually does go up to visible light, which, seriously, NASA. Because at one point, there were ideas that the James Webb Telescope, would only cover infrared and such. It wouldn't really cover any visible light. They expanded that to include visible light. It's like, yes, you need to do that. Because lay people, we like the pictures. Don't just make it all, oh yeah, the spectrograms. It's like, no. We like the pictures like this. Which, coincidentally, this is... I actually do name it. NGC3324. Like I do on the copyright page, I actually do name it there and say where you can find it. Technically, I didn't have to because all Hubble images are public domain. But still, no, I want to do it, and also just mention that, yeah, it's a beautiful image to begin with, but it was perfect for me to use for the cover. But anyway, one of the first images from the James Webb Telescope is actually of that, so it's like, that was cool. But anyway. So I'm looking up W First, because I have not heard anything about it for a while. Well, that's because they changed it to the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, named after NASA's first chief astronomer. Okay? And look into her history. Here, you actually see that. Nancy Grace. Look into her history. She's a very impressive lady. But it was, I looked at it, and it's like, Nancy Grace Roman. Oh, that's perfect. I can use that. That's why the main character in this, his name is Roman, and his ship's name is Nancy Grace, is the Nancy Grace. So he calls her Nance plenty of times. But it's like, I have no idea, by the way, if Nance was a nickname for Nancy Grace Woman. I have no idea. It's just say, yes, I can use this for a name that's perfect. And also, seriously, with her history, it's like, yes, it hopefully will be considered as respect towards her, because that is the only way I ever meant that. Another nickname she had, by the way, was Mother of the Hubble Space Telescope. Because she legitimately had that level of influence. But anyway, yeah, so this is from earlier this week. They announced when it is being launched. August 30th, 2026. Aboard a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket. So that's really neat, and I wanted to talk about it because the 9th Space Woman Telescope, because it gave me the names here, it does have a special place for me, so I wanted to talk about that. And also mention this, because it is just a funny bit of history for it. Like I said, this can take a single image that's about 1 1/3 the size of the full moon. That might not be what they originally planned. I actually do think it was larger, but it's a NASA mission. They're obviously going to have delays and cost overruns, so yeah, a bit of a problem. But then, I'm dramatizing this a little bit, but then they got a phone call. And it was like, hey, so we got a spare satellite telescope here. Would you like it? How do you have a spare satellite telescope? Well, the National Reconnaissance Office kind of wanted us to make these. They didn't need the second one. Would you like it? Can we modify it to do this stuff? Oh yeah, we can totally do that. I mean, it's like, it's starting on a production line, right? It's not done yet, so it's like, we can make modifications. That's no problem. It's like, cool. Yeah, we'll take it. Awesome. Here's the thing. Never aim it at Earth. Why? You can't. Basically what it was is, the 9th Space Woman Telescope was originally meant to be a spy satellite. So it's never aim it at Earth, because we cannot let anyone ever know how good it would be for that. Just space, that's fine. But it's also just one of those funny things that, that is actually something that happens. That there are companies, Harris International? I don't remember now. I looked it up earlier today and just don't remember. But they do actually, there are companies that manufacture these things. Yes, they're going to be bespoke every single time, but it's still companies that specialize in it. And I'm sure NASA kind of would have their own facilities for doing that and probably work with companies like this. But it was just we can do that because it would get the budget under control and get the timeline under control as well. So yes, they jumped at that. That was a good decision. But yeah, I think some of the characteristics were, it's not what they had originally planned, but they're actually putting it up. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. Because, I mean, they always run over time and over budget at NASA. It's annoying, but yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, anyway, as I just said, I wanted to share that. And I also find that story funny about how they actually managed to get it. All right. And by the way, I don't remember. I remember learning that they were told they can never aim it at Earth. I might not be remembering that. I might be incorrect there, and that's just something that's lodged in my memory, but it's false. But it still is. Yeah, it was intended to be a spy satellite. I'm pretty sure that's true. Anyway, so this episode of Star Trek, the animated series, is the Jihad, as the description says, and it's a little confusing. You know what? I'm gonna quickly. That folder. Come on. I'll quickly try to pull something up. I should still have it on here. Let me... No, okay. Still might be right, and I'm just not typing it in rightly or something. So, the Enterprise and a few other ships have been summoned to one location, an asteroid, it was said. Positioning doesn't make much sense, but I'll get to that. They've been summoned by the Vadala, which are this cat-like species, which that's what I want to check on, because it is reference to a cat-like species in the Search for Spock novelization, with a mention there, and also here, that this species is very ancient and it's one of the oldest spacefaring species known. And actually in this episode it does say they are the oldest. So they're very powerful and very mysterious. But they've summoned them, and it's like, okay, when they ask, you go. Because, as is explained by Char, a member of the Score species, in fact, he is the hereditary prince of them, the soul of... Did I catch the name? I might not have. Yeah, I did not catch the name. Hang on, let me pop that quickly. Yeah. The soul of... Essentially, they're Sirak of Vulcan. The soul of that guy they managed to preserve into an artifact, but that has now been stolen. This is a big deal because previously, prior to their Sirac, they were a very warlike species and very dangerous, very powerful, in part because not only were they fierce warriors, but there was also mention that they were very effective at breeding soldiers. So it's basically, if they decided to, they could within the length of a war, you would expect that they could amass such an army that they would overwhelm a lot. But anyway, the concern is that if because the soul has been stolen, and this is the dude who taught them peace, taught them the value of peace, all that. With the soul being stolen, there's the concern that it would trigger a holy war, a jihad, because it was stolen and they want to get it back, but also just they may fall back to their old warlike ways and just attack the whole of the galaxy. And Char is explaining this. And the Vidala is like, yeah, obviously we can't allow that, which is why we've summoned all of you here, because you all have the skills we feel unnecessary. They've got a tracker, honestly, I don't remember what Sword does, but he seems to be like a combat specialist. A dude that looks like a bug with 6 arms who's a thief, so he can break into things. Spock because of his intellect, and Kirk because he's a very good leader. So they're all summoned. It's like, okay, we figured out where it is. That it's on this planet that is described as a mad planet because it's incredibly unstable. I have an issue with that. We'll get to it. But it's like, okay, well, why don't you just go and get it yourself? It's like, we can't survive on it, so you have to be sent. And they are just like, boom, boop, just magically transported there. Don't ask how. It's just what happens. And every now and then it'll like cut back, like just coming out of commercial, cuts back to show the Enterprise sitting there with these other ships that the other people came to the asteroid on. But there's no sense of how near this location is to the world, to the planet. Just no. So that's annoying. But anyway, they're there, and they have supplies, and so they have to go out. And as they're going, because the instability of the planet, which includes like great volcanism, so there's lava flowing around, which is a danger, but also suddenly they're in a blizzard and there's a crevasse opening up as they're going over glaciers. It's like, look, it's better than the monoclimate. Well, no, it's just as bad as the monoclimate planets you see in Star Wars, but you don't have these rapid changes in climate that near each other, okay? And especially not with massive volcanism. That's going to disrupt the whole planet such that it makes little... And this is how the planet is, okay? It's not like, oh, well, the volcano's only now erupting, so there could have been a glacier nearby that just has melted. No, everything should be disrupted by this. So, anyway, they're going. We got to mention Char and all the score people. They can fly. But as they're going, there is tension between the group. Obviously, Kirk and Spock are good, but mainly it's with the bug guy because he's a wimp, he's a coward. He also fully acknowledges this, and it's like, that's fine. You're still doing the mission, but it's like he's honest. Also, a woman who's the tracker is a woman she likes Kirk and just straight up says, on my world, we have more women than men. So the women, they have something on their mind. They say it, including, I want you as a mate. I'm telling you, Kirk. It's like, okay, we got a mission. We're going to do that. A little bit more for kids. Maybe that's why. Because, I mean... Also only half hour, but you can believe that this was an hour long in the original series. He'd have figured it out. Anyway, so there's the tension there. Sword also believes he saw something, which is like, well, there's nothing supposed to be alive on this planet except us, so that's weird, but we'll just keep going. So it is like, you got the one guy he is an actual thief. The thing was stolen, and he's a coward. The tracker, whose mind is elsewhere, and she's from an aggressive, and physically aggressive, personally assertive people. So it's like, how trustworthy is she? And you got things like that going on. So obviously there is the concern then of, okay, well, is it possible one of these people had stolen it? Sorry, I got the test system processing. I think I had mentioned previously that I got Babylon 5 on Blu-ray, and I'm just processing through the videos put on there. Which, by the way, I will mention this. It's a complete aside. I finally decided to start looking things up to figure out, because I know I'd seen a scene from Babylon 5 years ago. I think it was a rerun, though, when I saw it. But it's stuck in there. Season 4, Episode 5. That's... Finally figured out what that scene would have been. But anyway, just needed to do a little file management. So they're going, and they do find the location. It's like, okay, that's a temple. It's a lot like the temples that the Score have built on their own homeworld. So it's like, okay, cool. Dude, the thief manages to open it up so he can go in. But at about that time, or a little earlier, they are suddenly being attacked by these dragon things, which are very familiar. If you would have watched The Infinite Vulcan, it's the same dragons as there, and apparently also the Eye of the Beholder they are used in, that's mentioned in the trivia here. But we haven't gotten to that yet, because that's... The 15th episode produced, this was 13. But this was the last one to air of the first season, so... Yeah, always fun that. Anyway, so they're being attacked by that. They're firing weapons and discover that, oh, these are mechanical. They're not alive. So that would explain why no one was picking them up. But one of them manages to attack Char and drag him away. And it's like, well, I think it may have also been like dragging him into the temple. I don't quite remember, but it was by a different entrance. But it's like, all right, well, we got to go in. We got to get the soul. That's the point of the mission. We will get him. Don't worry. It's already been demonstrated. Both Spock and the thief were potentially in danger, and Kirk made sure, nope, we're getting them. So now in the temple. And the way it was drawn was very confusing. Because it looked like it's just across the floor. The door locks behind them, and there's no lock on the inside. So it's like, okay, but it's right over there. Why aren't they walking over? But they're talking about how, we have to climb to get it. It's like if only Char were here, he can fly. But it's like, it looks like it's just on the floor. Apparently it's elevated. Or just like floating in the center, so they have to climb up the walls. Which there are levels there, so it's possible. Except for Sword. He's like, yeah, that's not really my thing. That's not what my people do. So I'll just stay here. He's kind of like this dinosaur type of being. Okay. But as I think he's just a warrior, which actually, when Kirk had to save Spock's life, and this, it's like, hey, the delay, you should have been thinking of the group of the mission first, and Kirk's like, well, that's exactly what I was doing. Obviously, I'm going to save the finest science officer in the in the whole Starfleet. And Sword is just like, are you done trading honors? It's like, or competing honors, or something like that. But it's like, are you done with this? Can we keep going? And I liked how he put it, because it's like, yeah, because they're both trying to show honor to each other and how they express their honor and respect to each other. And it's just like, dudes, can we just move on now? It's like this guy. Anyway, so they're going. Eventually, we learn, well, okay, so they get near it. And the track was like, okay, I can use my rope to grab it. And Kirk is like, no, there's a force field there. Can't possibly, it'll just bounce off, so that won't work. It's like, all right, could we try shooting it? Like, just disrupt the force field and then grab it? Spock's like, I don't know what the energy of that is, so I don't know if that'll work. All right. And about this time, though, they are suddenly shot at, because there's just like a phaser defense system in the temple, and it melts a portion of the wall by them. So it's set to kill. Lovely. At this point, Kirk finally says the thing that has been hinted at, and is also just kind of obvious. One of them is the thief. Well, who is it? Well, there's only one of them who is currently not nearby, and that's Char. And yes, indeed, the hereditary prince of the score, is the one who stole it. And this does get explained. I'll get to the explanation. But they fight. He actually disables because he is a warrior species. He disables the gravity in the area, a gravity nullifier. So now they can all fly like him. It's like, he has wings, so he can move about freely in the air. They don't have that, so it's not... You still got an advantage, dude. But anyway. Yeah, Kirk just goes to Spock. When was the last time you trained for fighting in null gravity? Last week with you. Perfect. It's like, why are you even asking? You know it was just last week, Kirk. Anyhow, they do that. They manage to grab him and get a foot on the Soul, which it kind of looks like a Gordian knot in a way, in like one strip that's just kind of moving around. Anyway. And also for some clarity there, when the original dude died, the people decided to make an artifact and imprint his memory engrams and such, his personality, onto it. So it is holding him there so they can continue to question it. Not actually a healthy thing. That's a separate argument. Hopefully, I'll see if I can remember to get back to that. I do want to talk about the why Char is doing this. But first, they do... now that they have their hands, feet on the Soul, they radio back to the Vidala to beam them back. So now it's like, hey, we're out of here, we're safe and all that. And Scar's just... No, sorry, Char. Char of the score. He is just like in this glass case, and it's like, all right, well, and we got that back, so you don't have to worry about the Holy War. That's good. But what's gonna happen with this guy? And the Vidala is like, don't worry, we'll heal his mind of his madness. And it's like, I mean, this I have a little bit of a problem. So I get, like, his reasoning, I completely understand, and it's not itself wrong. What he is choosing to do is wrong. He is trying to he's trying to create an unprovoked war. But his reasoning, I get. He is of a warrior species, okay? That potentially recently, it was unclear how long ago, became peaceful. And it's basically, he sees it as a loss of identity for his people. And that's a major problem to him. And so it's like, I want the war because that is our identity. So he's mad for wanting the war in this way, but trying to find that identity, it makes sense. It's, like in Undiscovered Country with the Klingons, also warrior species. They don't know how to not be at war, such that it's actually very natural that some of them want to provoke a war, will even assassinate Gorkon, to have a war with the Federation, because even if they all lose, they all die, it's still, they see that as better than losing their warrior identity. And it felt, how it was written, how it was being played there, was as though any warrior inclination is madness. That it's like, it's war and peace, that's it. And it's like, no, there is nuance here. Don't you see? And time period this came out, here, let me actually look. I still got the IMDb thing open. 74. Okay, I think that's true. It also would be in the table. 1974. So, yeah, there would definitely have been the whole idea then being pushed that, oh, well, violence is insanity and like war is illegal and all that, and things like that. Where it's like, it's kind of nonsense. Yeah, I mean, it's war happens, and it's there was also something. I think it was a MASH. Would have been yesterday, where a comment being made about from BJ about going to war to get peace, to gain peace. It's like, yeah, what do you think war does? It achieves a peace. That's how all wars end. Like you fight a war to win a peace. Okay, I mean, and I just, neglecting that, or rather disrespecting that, I have issues with, because it is foolish. It's very foolish, so I don't like that being pushed. Because it's constantly thinking that way sets you up for the living on your knees instead of dying on your feet kind of thing, which is, you don't want to do that. I mean, it's like, so you want to have no dignity. You want to be treated as a slave. That's what you're saying with that. It's like, you just want to surrender everything. It's like, you have no dignity then. I don't necessarily have much respect for you then, because you don't have respect for yourself. It's just, why would I agree with that? So anyway, but yeah, I found that a little annoying. It's not, maybe I'm reading into that a little bit. It might also be that's not how we really wrote it. That isn't what we were going for. But yeah, I can at least see it being even if the writer were to say that's not what we were going for there. But I get what you mean. But one other thing is, they do, the Vidala are clear. None of you can ever talk about this, because if it is ever talked about, that could provoke the war, which is also an issue there of, it's very reasonable that a portion of the species would refuse, maybe even the majority would refuse to go to war, because if they found the value of peace here and want to keep it. I mean, it's like with the Vulcans. I mean, true, the Romulans left. Exactly when that is relative to Serac is unclear, but it still is that a portion of the Vulcans continue to choose peace instead of going back to their more warlike days, more belligerent days. And even the Romulans have benefited from Serac's teaching, because they're not as warlike as is typically depicted for any pre-Serac Vulcan. So it's, yeah, I mean, peace still kind of won there, to a degree. The Romulans are just, I mean, think about that, while they are warlike, they are far more manipulative. Like, they're far more the intellects of war instead of the fighters of war like the Klingons are. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to mention. There was something I was saying that it would... Let me just finish off the episode and give my recommendations. Maybe I'll remember what it was. So, with all that taken care of, Kirk and Spock beam back to the ship, and they're like, alright, so that's all taken care of. And Sulu's like, what? I mean, it's good to have you back, but what did the Vidala possibly want with you? What do you mean? It's like, you've been gone like 2 minutes. What? Alright. Yeah, guess they didn't really need us. Don't worry about it, Sulu. It's like, yeah, just 2 minutes passed. It's like, apparently the Vidala have that capability to, like, wrinkle in time, this kind of thing. Okay. We'll just move on from that. I mean, it is what it is. Because it makes some sense. But it also does suggest that the Vidala knew exactly what was going on. Knew it was Char behind this. And just, they built the team, even though there was mention of previous teams being sent and not returning. But they may have built the team specifically in order to expose him. And that these are the people that would be able to catch him. So, anyway. I'm still giving this a 2. Which is my the numeric label for the week recommendation category. I will fully acknowledge I am likely rounding up here, but sorry, I'm just trying to save some stuff. One handy thing, I don't know how many people are aware of this, in Notepad++, you can save your session to like a specific file, not just have to remember when you come up. And I like using that. So I've got the file for, because I'm still working on the review for the Ripperverse Omnibus, although I have finished writing it. I'm just going through doing the editing. But I want that up. Then I've got a text file that I sync between computers that contains all the links, because it just makes it easier for adding them to places, and then also the notes file for this stuff. And it's just nice. You can save them and then just load it up whenever you want. You can also stick it into a shortcut, and so you just launch that one. That's great. I use that for work. Anyway, yeah, so I might be rounding up, because the truth is, if I were to, and this is also part of the whole, these are labels, numeric labels to categories, they're not scores. If I didn't give it a weak recommendation, the 2, it would be a straight failed recommend, a 0. It would not be a 1. Because it's either, yeah, it's just okay. It's like, whatever, didn't feel one way or another, straight failed recommend. Or, no, I actually did kind of enjoy it. And I did. It wasn't necessarily that strong, but it was still interesting. It is a kind of classic story. I mean, it's not that original. I knew what was coming with, oh yeah, obviously one of them is the thief. Who's it going to be? Well, Char is constantly away because he can fly and scout out. But it's also who would actually benefit. There's no setup for anyone benefiting from the theft except for him. Well, let me change that. No one would benefit from it. He's the only one that has a connection to it. So it makes sense. He had to be the thief. So yeah, it's. I think it could be tightened up as it is. But I will grant, this is one that if you were to stretch it out to an hour, you could probably make it more engaging by having more stuff in there, and better have the suggestion that the thief is among them, and it's just you don't know who it is. You don't trust Kirk and Spock, but you don't know about the others. Kind of like what episode is that of TNG where Picard and 3 others have been abducted. So there's 4 in this room, and it's basically a test. This is what Picard really figures out, because he's there, and he's basically the politician and the leader. There's another Starfleet ensign, I believe it would be, who is a blue-skinned woman. I don't remember what species she would be. I think it might be the same species as Mr. Mott, but anyway, she's there. A big guy who is very aggressive looking, and he is of a warrior species. And then also another guy who's just a merchant, but also kind of slimy. Not a Ferengi, but somebody who, yeah, you can believe he tries to cheat everyone that comes in. And part of what goes on there is it is a test. And so things are being done, and part of how Picard knows it is a test, is things are done to antagonize one or the other, so they will doubt everyone. So at one point they are given food, because we're literally just sealed in a room. There's nothing to eat. Well, there's this central column, and it does drop out some food, which are like these red pucks. But it turns out that the warrior guy, when he bites into it, it's like, this is poison. Well, maybe it wasn't poison, but he can't eat it. And that, along with some other stuff, convinces Picard this has to be a test. I'm thinking about it. Every one of us, there's some stressor going on here that's provoking us to be angry at the others. So can we control it, or can somebody step up to try to control it like he is trying? And he points out the whole food thing, but he also points out something else. The ensign, and I don't mind spoiling this, the ensign knows things she shouldn't know. Like there's one mission that just she basically name drops, and he's like, okay, and that was a bit earlier, but then later on, it's kind of like the Thin Man, the guilty information, guilty knowledge. That's the term. Although I learned that from Monk, but it's still basically all the Thin Men movies are somebody says something that would just know something that they can't know unless they were the guilty party. She knows about a mission that he's like, Starfleet Command sealed that, so there's 5 people not on Earth that know. You would not be one of them. So she's exposed now as she is one of the people testing them, and was just planted in there to try to continue to keep things riled up. And then they're all sent back to the respective worlds. But it's, as I said, it's a classic story. It's something that Star Trek does themselves later on in TNG. It's funny in the trivia on IMDb. It even mentions The theme of cooperation would be explored again with a twist in the Star Trek Voyager episode Think Tank. I didn't bother looking that up, but it's like, what are you talking about? The theme of cooperation? I mean, it's a normal theme in storytelling. Yeah. Anyway. And it is done very well here? No, but it's done well enough with this episode. But it could be done better. I feel like, spend some better time with certain things. As I like to say, let certain things linger a bit longer. And yeah, even within the half hour, I still think it could be better. Because, like, Sword, what is his presence even for? It's like he basically does nothing there. And it's not like he's set up either for being the thief. The one who stole the soul. So it just... Yeah, I don't... There are ways it could have been done better. But, no, I'm still okay with it. So, yeah. Weak recommendation. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to mention. And let me also just try to see if I can remember what it was. I don't think it was... It may have been the null gravity thing. I don't think so, though. Because I remember when watching it, I mean, the idea of being able to produce null gravity, just anti-gravity, it's like, I'm okay with that. And the funny thing is, actually, for the story, the next Catherine verse story that I want to do, that will be in the future, the one I'm currently working on now is technically in that universe, but modern day. I actually do want to. I have an idea for how to explore a little bit more how anti-gravity works in there, and I think it could be interesting. The trick will be, I need to make sure it aligns with what I did in I Call My Ship Catherine, which I don't recommend. I do recommend this, but the first book, I Call My Ship Catherine, I actually don't. Sorry. The simplest way to put it, I tried to write a horror story. I'm not a horror story writer. But it set up, it established the universe, and I decided when I had the idea for this one, I'll just keep using it. Continue in there, but I did a lot of stuff with artificial gravity in that. Well, at least I established a lot for it. And I do remember it, so I don't even have to reread the book. And even then, there's a part of me that I don't want to. To explain that a little bit, I don't mind if I do some retcons there with the artificial gravity, because I need to make sure it's going to be more developed in that future book. The artificial gravity will be more developed there. I'd rather make sure that is well developed, and I will be making sure that is coherent, at least, with things I've done before, but maybe there would be some things that I technically contradict. I'm okay with that, because even with Star Trek, they would have had some technologies where they had to, yes, later on say something that does contradict something they said or did earlier. If it's in good faith, though, that's fine. Also, if it's like late TNG contradicting early TNG, that's a little bit more of a problem than late TNG and the original series. The original series, I don't think they cared as much. Or this, I don't think they cared as much. But anyway. But yeah, it's that kind of retconning. I'm comfortable with that. At some point, I do want to go through I Call My Ship Catherine. I don't know when that'll be. So maybe it'll be around that time, so I can then make sure it's all consistent. But I think my memory tends to be pretty good, especially with technical things. So it should be okay. But we'll see. It'll be a while. I got to finish off this book first. So anyway, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to mention. And just what? Oh yeah, with the null gravity, it's just I did say the whole. They can't really move around in it. Oh, yeah, I should also mention that, because I mentioned about the dragons, that they were reusing animation, which you do that to save time, save effort. I get that. It's annoying to see it, but I get it. There's also a shot where Kirk is just walking by, and he has an environmental belt on, which he shouldn't have, so they were reusing those images as well. That isn't mentioned in the trivia, but the dragon being reused is, so that's a little funny. Was it? I mean, that's not what I thought of and wanted to mention. It's something else. I cannot think of what it was, though. At least I do remember when I was saying I'll talk about that later if I remember. Clearly did not. Oh well. Next episode, because remember we're following production order, is the Terratin incident, which is episode 11 of season 1. Then episode 15, The Eye of the Beholder, and then episode 9, Once Upon a Planet. So yeah, it is wild just how much that the anime series jumps around, but it is what it is. Yeah. Can I remember if there's anything else? Or what the other thing was? It says, oh yeah, I'll also say, well, I put it in the writer's ball thing, because for anyone that looks at these doesn't look at the Substack, which there should be a link. Let me check. Yeah. Find written the fiction method articles at the Substack link there, so that is in the description. Something I've been doing. I think it's a good idea. At least it's not so bad an idea I shouldn't do it. Is every week I put something up. And Writer's Ball, I'm trying to make a joke on Writer's Block. I know, it's bad. Just, like I said earlier, I'm lousy in coming with names, so when I can use a reference like I did in this, I will. But every week I try to share what my writing progress is. Of late, a lot of it has been I've been focused on the review. But I do mention there, it is 188 pages long. Over 1,300 pages, the original omnibus. 25 separate stories. So 108 pages, not so unreasonable. But it does technically make it longer than all but 2 of my novels. Let me. No, that's not it. That's one. Yeah. So it would actually be longer than this. So yeah, which unfortunately, I'm not sure how much you want to trust the thickness of this, because I actually. The font size is actually kind of large. And I can explain that. It's not a good explanation, but it is an explanation. It's because when I wrote the first book, which also I don't recommend, so not going to name it. I did that all in Word, moved to LaTeX by the time I got to this. But I had to go with font size 11 or 12 on whatever font I used. And it was one of those things where even going down like a half point to like 10.5 or 11.5, it went from like font size here to there. It's like, no. I wanted like somewhere in the middle. Wouldn't give me that. So it's like, all right, fine, leave it at the larger one. I just kept that ever since. It wasn't until the Children Many Gifts, because that's so long, in order to keep it under $15, I had to adjust margins. I had to adjust font size. That I actually did that adjustment, and it worked. So I got that to be under $15 to sell. I got it, so I think it's like $13.93 to how much it costs to have the thing printed. So it's like barely more than $1. By the way, I don't know how many people know this, but just you make way more money off of a Kindle version than a print version. Yeah, unless they have it the price is really high. But yeah, because even though I set all the ebooks, and there's also a link in the description to my Amazon author page. It's below the Substack one. I tried it with the books at $15, the physical print books at $15, the ebooks at $3. How that's currently set up, I get 70% of that, so I get about $2 per ebook sale. I think not even it might be just slightly more than $1. At the $13.93 that I remember, I don't remember if that's before or after Amazon takes its cut. So yeah, but don't get me wrong, I like having the physical book there. I do think this is a better way to view the book and to see it, to flip through it. I get that, but I also love ebooks, so they're gonna be there. Is there anything else to mention? Again, I'm just trying to think, what was the other thing? What was that other thing? I also just checked this because I realized, okay, good, those off. Would have been too late, but I remembered, yeah, I should check to make sure that echo cancellation and noise reduction are turned off because I don't need that in Rumble. I'm not chatting with people, so I don't need headphones to deal with an echo, and I've got OBS set up to do the noise cancellation, so don't need that. What was it? It really annoys me that I cannot remember. But I should probably just stop anyway. If you can't remember it, probably wasn't worth remembering. And so as I said, next week I should be able to do it. Hope so. The Terratin incident, and actually here, let me try to see a little bit about what that one is. If you know the reason that I'm curious. There. Exposed to spheroid epsilon waves, the Enterprise crew begins to shrink in size. If a way cannot be found to stop the condition, they will soon be too small to control the ship. Why did the ship not shrink with them? Anyway, so we got the amazing shrinking crew, essentially. Outdated transmission from star Cephas. A flash of light from its lone volcanic planet passes through the ship and disables all dilithium crystals. Soon thereafter, the crew begins to shrink. No cure in sight, it becomes increasingly difficult for the Starfleet officers to handle the ship's controls. Alright. See it next week or the week after. I don't know. Just next week is a little wonky, so we'll see. We'll see. See you then. See you next time, I should say.